Let's move to the ACC before we wrap up this week's pod. Two games that we'll talk about with Duke and North Carolina this weekend. We will begin Clemson at number 12 Duke. 4 p.m. Eastern time tip-off on Saturday. This one on ESPN. Haslametrics makes Duke a little bit more than a 5-point favorite, around 5.25, over under 156. Eli, you have Duke a little bit higher than the AP poll, 9 for you versus 12 for the AP. And you do have Clemson in your top 25, unlike the AP poll. So what was it about this matchup in particular for Duke that caught your eye?
Yeah, maybe Duke is on upset alert like we saw last week against Pitt. Granted, didn't have Jeremy Roach and Mark Mitchell, but lost outright to the Panthers. Blake Hinson standing on the scores table. What were your takeaways from just that individually?
Yeah, I'm just like thinking of Coach K in the Aflac commercials, except this time he's watching that scene and he's clutching his pearls by the pool. The photos were phenomenal of the double birds from all the extremely smart Duke students in the student section that will be executives at some Fortune 500 company down the road, but they will always be remembered if they look back at the photos of giving that guy on the scores table the double bird. It was just an awesome college basketball scene, quite frankly. It was great.
Yeah, I don't think I could have said it any better myself, so I won't try to. But Duke healthy, Roach and Mitchell back, came back for their trouncing of Louisville. Like, then again, every team has done that to Louisville this season, as you well know, being in the area. But the one thing I will say about fair enough. The one thing I will say about Clemson is they had a week to prepare for Duke. Beat Florida State at Florida State, and we'll get to the Seminoles for their matchup against North Carolina here in a bit. But coming off that double-digit win, so you've had a lot of time to get ready for this Duke team, maybe playing to Brad Brownell's advantage. I don't know how much of a coaching prep edge I give him over John Shire. Then again, Shire has kind of underperformed my expectations in his short Duke tenure after taking over for Coach K. But issue for Clemson is they struggle to defend in transition. That's where Duke can be elite, especially with Tyrese Proctor coming off the bench and this team fully healthy. And Duke is particularly efficient when it comes to their pick and roll offense and getting Filipowski in those ball screen sets to the rim. And that's where Clemson can really, really have issues defensively. They rank in the 9th percentile per synergy in terms of their pick and roll defense. That's not good, even though it's a low number. And you may say, okay, top 10? No, bottom 10 in college basketball when it comes to their ranking, defending, pick and rolls, and Duke can really exploit them in that regard. So is Clemson going to continue to get right from 3? If they want to cover this number, I make this closer to Duke being favored by about 6 at Cameron. You're going to need to shoot like you did against the Seminoles, 7 of 17 from deep. This Clemson offense can, with their 5-out spacing, you have PJ Hall, one of the best players in college basketball. To be honest, I don't think that's that big of an overstatement, but if Clemson can space out this Duke defense, then maybe you keep this game within a couple possessions. But I think defensively, even though they've had some extra time to prep for Duke, especially in the half court, pick and roll defense is going to be an issue.
I think both offenses are going to have a lot of success in this game, Eli. If Clemson is going to pull an upset or get inside 2 possessions here, they're going to have to rely on their offense. Just overall, Duke's offense, number 9 by efficiency over at Haslametrics versus the number 89 Clemson defense, and the Clemson offense, number 7 in efficiency versus Duke's number 53 defensive efficiency. Elsewhere, Duke's 3-point field goal percentage D is quite poor. They are number 217 nationally and 10th in ACC play. And if Clemson gets some positive regression here with their 3-point field goal shooting, then yeah, they can cover this number and maybe put Duke on upset alert here, because if you look at their season as a whole, they're number 71 overall, but they are 6% less than that in ACC play. They have not shot the ball well during conference play versus what they did in non-conference play. They're 13th in the ACC in 3-point shooting. So as you like to say and point out, potentially some positive 3-point field goal regression here at some point for Clemson. but they're gonna have to score because this D is pretty bad. 335th in takeaway percentage, 230th in 3-point field goal percentage overall. The one area that is interesting to me is if Clemson can get out on Duke's shooters. I think Clemson has potentially an advantage here in getting some easy buckets near the basket. Their near proximity rates here, Duke's offense is only 95th in the country in getting near proximity baskets versus Clemson being 19th in the country at defending those shots around the rim. And Clemson's offense, 22nd in near proximity offense versus 122 for Duke's defense. So on both sides around the rim, I actually think that's the one spot where Clemson might be able to get an advantage on Duke here, believe it or not.
The one caveat I have for that is Duke's transition defense has improved a lot ever since that Arkansas game. So it's not only Clemson getting out in transition, which is how Duke has struggled defending the rim, to your point, against teams like upper echelon Arizona, title contender in the Wildcats for sure, and one of the opening games of the season. Arizona got out on the break a lot with Duke Slayer, Caleb Love, and really, really explosive Arizona guards. But I will give Shire credit in that regard. They have improved. So I don't know if I'm as much concerned about that area for Duke defensively as you are, just because it kind of has evened itself out. And to be fair, Duke has actually improved above par when it comes to their defensive rim field goal percentage, especially in transition, because that's where a lot of those numbers come from.
Fair enough. So, and, any strong, are you going to be watching this spread closely here? It's at 5 for Haslametrics. Is there one side that you're hoping to maybe get some action on here if the spread goes a certain way? Is there one side you definitely don't want any part of in this game?
If Clemson falls behind early, and that seems like the easy way out, a lot of bettors, novice bettors, will say, okay, bet the favorite A, and B, bet the favorite when they're up in a game and take them laying double digits. But if Clemson isn't hitting from 3, I have a hard time.
Yeah,
we both touched on that. I have a hard time seeing the Tigers coming back in this game. You got to get off to a hot start in a very tough road environment, even though it's not like this Duke defense is elite by any stretch. But that's Clemson's only chance of not only upsetting, but covering the number, is getting hot from behind the arc.